Gentlemen, good evening to you. Let me start this conversation with Dr. Nwambu. Is a convener coalition for the protection of democracy in Nigeria. Mr. Kimbolu will join us later as we go on with this conversation. Dr. Nwambu, good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining me. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, good evening, and thanks for having me.
All right, thank you very much. So you're advocating for the protection of Nigerian boundaries. According to you, the sovereignty of coordinates must be upheld to protect our collective future. We'll come to that in a moment. First, let's talk about the issue at hand, which is the amendment of the Electoral Act amendment. There's a special committee on this bill, and that committee should have, rounded off with your subtraction and addition rather by now. But very important amendment, holding all elections in one day, mandatory electronic transmission of results, early voting for security personnel and election officials, diaspora voting and conclusion of election dispute before swearing in. Which is more crucial to you?
Thank you so much for a very germane question. You see, what we have opined, part of the submissions the civil society organizations have done as input in the amendment of the Electoral Act 2022 that is ongoing, is all-inclusive. We believe that we had experiences. If you look at the trajectory of elections in Nigeria, especially what we saw in 2023, it became pertinent, it became onerous on Nigerians that if we really as a nation want to be a formidable nation, if we want to get it right, if we want the litigation, to be minimal, as it were, we must address all these amendments, squarely. We must do all of them, collectively. For me, none is even more important. All these submissions has to be done if we want to get the 2027 election, right. Because when you get it right, the litigations will be less. You get it right, Nigeria will even be respected in the League of Nations. And the populace, what the definition of democracy really is, that is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people, will count. People will now know that their votes will really count. Therefore, the lacuna, the disconnect, the lack of trust that has been existing between the electorate and even the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, would be bridged, and Nigerians will have more confidence in the system, more confidence in the electoral system, knowing that the vote is going to count squarely.
I mean, it's important for you to be very specific, Dr. Nwambu. Are there past recommendations that lawmakers ignored and should now revisit?
You see, it is difficult to really, point out. I am saying, really, I do not want to mince words. I did say that all these recommendations you have mentioned, ranging from, electronic transmission of votes, ranging from diaspora voting, early voting for security personnel and people in sensitive, like the medical field and all that. These are all important. They're equally important, because some of these things some of these mistakes are observations we have observed and have done in our reports, several reports that we have submitted to INEC and eventually to National Assembly, for onward review. So these are collective. If you do one, if we implement or we pass one into law without, while ignoring the other, it would, the effect will not be seen or noticed by Nigerians. The populace, the gap, the mistrust, the lack of confidence, for which the electorates have, will keep increasing. And of course, the voter apathy will continue, as it were.
Well, how might, these amendments to the Electoral Act affect INEC's independence? And I'm asking because you just talked about trust and whether or not, or how far this committee or the Senate should go in making sure that Nigerians trust the system? Should they act to give INEC more autonomy, especially financially?
Yeah, I have been an advocate of INEC financial autonomy right from the beginning. You see, INEC, by its definition, is not expected or is not supposed, as it were, if you want to get it right, to go cap in hand in, going through maybe the legislatures or the executive to seek for approvals to get funds. When the system, maybe if the legislative arm of government is not happy with it of fund, if the executive is not happy with the performance of INEC, they might decide to stipulate a fund. So INEC should not be an institution. If you want to practice the real independence, the Independent National Electoral Commission, if that independence is going to, not just in the papers, if it's going to manifest physically, it is going to manifest and show to be on ground, INEC must have the source of funding directly, and it must be automatic. The funding should come directly from, from the fact. INEC should not be going cap in hand all the time, asking for money, asking for approvals and all that. These bureaucracies and these bottlenecks have to be removed, so that we can unbundle INEC to deliver the dividends of democracy, because INEC have, as it were, we have a very good technocrat who is now at the helm of affairs, Professor Amotekon. The professor is determined to work. I would strongly appeal to the National Assembly to do the needful so that Amotekon could hit the ground running and do the needful.
But